Hello there. Today I will share a tale that will restore your faith in human compassion and the profound impact one person's empathy can have. Enjoy the story. Emily Davis stared at her reflection in the grimy bathroom mirror of the rundown gas station where she worked. At just 20 years old, her soft brown eyes held a weariness beyond her years. Life had not been kind to the petite brunette. As she adjusted her faded blue uniform, Emily's mind drifted back to her childhood in St. Mary's orphanage. Those gray walls held few happy memories. The nuns were strict and the other children ruthlessly competitive, more interested in tearing each other down than forming friendships. But even before the orphanage, Emily's life had been far from idyllic. She had vague recollections of living with her mother until the age of 6. Those years were a blur of shouting matches and slamming doors, usually followed by her mom storming out and not returning for days. Then came the accident. At least, that's what everyone called her mother's fatal drug overdose. After that, Emily was left in the dubious care of her alcoholic stepfather, Rick. For 2 long years, she learned to make herself invisible, lest she become the target of his drunken rages. Most nights, dinner consisted of stale Cheerios or a ketchup sandwich, if there was any food in the house at all. Emily got used to the gnawing ache of hunger in her belly. Thankfully, the neighbors took notice of Rick's neglect and called social services. At 8 years old, Emily was delivered to St. Mary's S. The orphanage at least provided regular meals and a lumpy mattress to sleep on, even if warmth and affection were in short supply. The one bright spot was Mrs. Robertson, the kind-hearted administrator who took a special liking to timid little Emily. On Emily's birthday each year, Mrs. Robertson would sneak her an extra slice of cake and a small gift, treasures like a new hair ribbon or a colorful bookmark. Those gestures meant the world to a girl who had nothing and no one. But eventually, Emily aged out of the system. On her 18th birthday, she was unceremoniously deposited at a dingy apartment building on the outskirts of town, armed with nothing but a meager monthly stipend and a second-hand set of dishes. Finding work proved difficult with no experience, no connections, and no high school diploma. Emily took whatever odd jobs she could find, walking dogs, babysitting bratty kids, scrubbing toilets. But it was never enough to make ends meet. So when she saw the Help Wanted sign at the 24-hour gas-and-go station, Emily jumped at the chance. The owner, a middle-aged man named Dan Wilson, had leered at her chest as she filled out the application. But she was desperate. Besides, she was used to creepy men eyeing her up. "All right, sweetheart, you're hired," Dan had said with a wolfish grin. "You can start tonight on the overnight shift. Sandra and Olivia will show you the ropes." Emily quickly learned that her co-workers, a hard-faced blonde named Sandra, and her gum-smacking sidekick, Olivia, were not exactly thrilled by the new hire. "Look, newbie," Sandra had hissed on Emily's first shift. "Here's how it works. You skim a little off the top from each customer. A couple bucks here and there. It adds up. Dan gets his cut, and we get ours. Got it?" Emily had shaken her head vehemently. "No way. That's stealing. I'm not doing that." Olivia rolled her heavily mascaraed eyes. "Suit yourself, but I'm telling you, Dan ain't gonna give you no bonus for being Miss Goody Two-Shoes. You gotta take what you can get, if you know what I mean." She gave a pointed glance towards Dan's office. Bile rose in Emily's throat at the insinuation, but she tamped it down. "I'll take my chances," she said firmly. The weeks dragged by in a blur of long shifts, rude customers, and Sandra and Olivia's constant needling. Emily did her best to ignore them and focus on doing her job honestly, but she couldn't help but notice the way Dan's eyes lingered on her when he thought she wasn't looking. It made her skin crawl. Then one day, Dan called a staff meeting looking grim. "Listen up, folks. We got a problem," he said, pacing in agitation. "Profits are way down, even though we're open 24/7 and busier than ever. If this keeps up, I might have to sell the place." Sandra and Olivia exchanged a knowing look, but Emily spoke up hesitantly. "Maybe it's because some people aren't being totally honest with the transactions," she said, avoiding eye contact with her co-workers. Dan narrowed his eyes. "What are you saying, Emily? You accusing someone of stealing?" "No, I just—" Emily trailed off. suddenly losing her nerve under Dan's intense glare. "That's what I thought," Dan growled. "Now, unless someone has a better idea, I'm going to start looking for buyers." Emily's heart sank. She needed this job as much as she hated it. The thought of being back on the unemployment line filled her with dread. A couple months later, Emily was startled to see an unfamiliar car pull into the station. A classic Cadillac that had seen better days. An elderly man with a white beard emerged, looking sheepish. "Fill her up, will you, miss?" he asked Emily. "I'm running on fumes here." As Emily started the pump, Sandra sidled up to the man. "Nice ride, Grandpa. Surprised it still runs," she sneered. The man's weathered face fell. "I know she's not much to look at, but she's got sentimental value. You see, I'm on my way to pick up my son from the airport. Haven't seen him in over 15 years. Olivia joined in the mocking. "Ah, how sweet. Bet Sonny Boy will be real impressed with this old clunker." "Leave him alone," Emily snapped, surprising herself with her own boldness. She turned to the old man with a kind smile. "I'm sure your son will be thrilled to see you, no matter what you're driving." The man smiled gratefully as the pump clicked off. But then his expression turned to dismay. "Oh no, I just realized I forgot my wallet at the motel. I feel so foolish. Listen, I'll leave you my wedding ring as collateral. It's all I have on me. My son can pay when he gets here, and I'll come right back for it, I swear." Sandra and Olivia burst out laughing. "Wedding ring? What a load of crap. Get lost, old man," Sandra said dismissively. But Emily didn't hesitate. She hit the button to complete the sale, paying for the man's gas out of her own pocket. "Don't worry about it," she said softly. "It's on me. You just go get your son." The man's eyes widened in surprise, then welled with tears. "Bless you, young lady. Bless you." He clasped her hand briefly before getting back in his car and driving off. "Have you lost your mind?" Olivia rounded on Emily as soon as he was gone. "You're just giving away gas for free now? Dan's gonna flip his lid." Emily lifted her chin defiantly. "I don't care. It was the right thing to do. That man needed help." Right on cue, Dan came barreling out of the office. "What's this I hear about you giving away free fill-ups?" he bellowed at Emily. She crossed her arms. "That man was just trying to get to his son. He forgot his wallet, but he's coming right back to pay. I trust him." "Trust?" Dan looked apoplectic. "There's no room for trust in business, you stupid girl. That gas is coming out of your paycheck, and you'll be lucky if I don't fire you on the spot." Emily felt her face flush with anger and humiliation, but before she could respond, the sound of a car horn made them all turn. The old Cadillac was back, and pulling up right behind it was a shiny black Mercedes. The old man stepped out beaming, with a younger man who could only be his son. The son, who looked to be in his early 30s with a neatly trimmed beard and expensive suit, strode up to Emily. "I'm Corey Meadows," he said, extending his hand. "I understand I have you to thank for helping my father, Michael, when he was in a jam earlier." Emily shook Corey's hand, feeling a bit dazed. "It was no trouble, really. I was happy to help." Corey smiled warmly. "Well, it means a great deal to us, and as it happens, I'm the new owner of this gas station. Just finalized the sale today." Dan's jaw dropped. "You? You're the new owner?" Corey nodded, his smile fading as he turned to Dan. "And from what I just witnessed, it seems I have some immediate changes to make. Dan, you're fired, effective immediately. And Sandra and Olivia, is it? I've been watching the security footage. I know all about your little skimming scheme. You're both fired as well. Emily here seems to be the only honest employee at this establishment." Emily couldn't believe what she was hearing. She watched in shock as a sputtering Dan stormed off, followed by an indignant Sandra and Olivia. Corey turned back to Emily, his blue eyes crinkling at the corners. "I hope you'll stay on, Emily. I could use someone like you to help me manage this place. In fact, how would you like to oversee all my stations in the area? With a sizable pay raise, of course." Emily's heart leaped. A promotion? A raise? It was more than she had ever dared to dream. "I'd be honored, Mr. Meadows. Thank you for this opportunity. Please, call me Corey." He squeezed her shoulder briefly, sending a tingle down her spine. Over the next few weeks, Emily threw herself into her new role. She worked closely with Corey to implement changes, hire new staff, and improve the customer experience. She found herself looking forward to their daily meetings, to Corey's quick wit and kind smile. Old Michael would often pop by the station, ostensibly for fill-ups, but really to chat with Emily. "You know, my son is a good businessman, but he can be a bit dense when it comes to matters of the heart," he said one day, winking at her conspiratorially. "He'd be lucky to have a gal like you, mark my words." Emily blushed and laughed it off, but secretly she was falling for Corey. His intelligence, his drive, his compassion, he was unlike any man she'd ever known. Unbeknownst to Michael or the rest of the staff, Corey and Emily had begun discreetly dating. Stolen kisses in the stockroom, cozy dinners at out-of-the-way restaurants. Emily felt like she was living in a dream. Then one crisp autumn evening as they strolled hand-in-hand through the park, Corey suddenly dropped to one knee. "Emily Davis, you walked into my life and lit it up like a beacon," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I can't imagine my future without you in it. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Emily's face as she whispered, "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." The next week, they gathered the staff to make the announcement. Michael whooped and engulfed them both in a bear hug. "I knew it! I knew you two were perfect for each other." As Emily gazed around at the joyful faces of her new work family, she marveled at the twists and turns that had brought her here. For so long, she had felt like a lost soul, drifting through life with no purpose or direction. But now, with Corey by her side and a bright future ahead, she finally felt like she had found her home. She knew there would still be challenges to face, scars from her past that might never fully heal. But for the first time, Emily dared to hope, to believe that happiness was within her reach. And as Corey pulled her in for a tender kiss, his eyes shining with love and promise, Emily knew that all the hardships she had endured had been worth it. They had led her here, to this perfect moment, to the start of her new life. A life filled with love, laughter, and endless possibilities.